Hello everyone, I'm so glad to see you back on my channel. In the previous episodes, we witnessed the sweet love story of Lythieuca and Hung, a relationship filled with challenges but also overflowing with faith and hope. After so many days together, Hoai is now carrying Hung's child, a tiny life, a living proof of the sincere love they share. One joy follows another. Together, they have painted a dream of a warm home, a simple yet heartfelt wedding, a small house full of laughter, where father, mother, and children grow up surrounded by boundless love. These days, Hoai and Hung are busy preparing every little detail for their wedding, from cleaning the house, picking flowers from the garden, to rushing to choose wedding outfits. Their eyes are filled with happiness, for they know a bright future lies just ahead. Yet, fate seems unwilling to let them go so easily. Just when happiness feels within their grasp, a storm suddenly arrives. The unusual signs from Hoai's body worry everyone. Each stomach cramp, each drop of blood becomes a haunting fear. And in an instant, the joyful atmosphere of wedding preparations turns into moments of suffocating tension. Will Hoai and the baby in her womb survive this crisis? Will Hung have enough calm and strength to be the pillar of the family? Can love once again conquer cruel fate, opening the door to true happiness? Stay with me in today's episode to witness these emotions firsthand, from the thrill of joy to the depths of anxiety, in the stormy yet love-filled journey of Hoai and Hung. The little house still held on to the excitement of a day spent preparing for the wedding. On the table lay scattered ribbons waiting to be tied, while the ivory-white wedding dress hung neatly in the corner of the room, as if silently anticipating the big day. The laughter and chatter of the afternoon still seemed to linger in the air. Yet as night fell, all that cheerful bustle dissolved, giving way to an unexpected nightmare. Hoai had just drifted into sleep when a sharp pain suddenly twisted violently in her abdomen. She bolted upright, her breathing rapid, hands trembling as they clutched her stomach. Cold sweat streamed down her pale face. When her eyes lowered, she froze in horror, her legs were drenched in blood. In that instant, time seemed to stop, broken only by the frantic pounding of her heart. Her voice broke, weak but desperate. Hung. Please, help me. That faint cry cut through the silence like a knife. Hung sprang up, his eyes instantly fixed on the dark stain spreading across the floor. His whole body trembled, his heart constricting as if it might shatter. He rushed forward, scooping Hoai into his arms, panic and self-reproach surging in every word. No, this can't be happening. Hold on, I'll get you to the hospital right now. God, I never should have let you go into the forest, never should have let you walk around so much. Hoai gasped for breath, tears streaming as her frail hand clutched his shirt like a final grasp at hope. Outside, dogs barked wildly, shattering the quiet of the village. Lights flickered on in neighboring houses. Carrying her toward the gate, Hung cried out in desperation. Help! Somebody help me! She can't hold on much longer. Within moments, neighbors came rushing. One let out a motorbike, another steadied Hung, another fumbled for a phone to call for aid. The shuffle of sandals and frantic whispers collided in the night air. The whole village seemed to awaken at once. The darkness was thick, pierced only by the motorbike's weak yellow beam, flickering across the gravel-strewn path. Sitting behind, Hung cradled Hoai tightly with one arm, clutching her icy hand with the other. Each passing second dragged on like a century. He pressed his lips close to her ear, his voice breaking. Don't leave me, don't leave our baby. Please, stay strong. We still have our wedding, tomorrow, our future together. The night wind whipped his face with biting cold, yet his heart felt colder still. Images flashed in his mind, Hoai's radiant smile as she tried on her wedding dress, Tony's sparkling eyes when he spoke of the baby to come, and his solemn vow, "I will protect you until the very end." Now, all of it stood on the edge of vanishing. The motorbike roared, tearing through the stillness of the night, carrying Hoai straight into a battle between life and death. Their figures shrank into the distance along the empty road, where the line between happiness and heartbreak hung by nothing more than a fragile breath. In the cold, sterile white light of the emergency room, the silence was broken only by the steady beeping of machines. Hung stood in the hallway, his heart pounding wildly, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles bled. Each passing second felt like a blade cutting into him, suffocating him with guilt and self-reproach. At last, the door swung open. The doctor stepped out, his face grave, his voice slow and heavy, slicing straight into the heart of the frantic man. "The pregnancy has dropped. There are signs of threatened miscarriage. The risk is very high. She must remain still and under close observation." The words made Hung's ears ring. He went numb, vision blurred by tears. His whole body trembled, and he had to lean against the wall just to stay upright. In that instant, all hopes of a wedding, of a peaceful future, seemed to shatter into pieces. He rushed inside, dropped to his knees by the bed, and gripped Hoai's cold hand tightly. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Please hold on. I'll stay with you, I'll never let go. Don't leave me, don't leave our child." Hoai's frail eyes met his. With effort, she managed a faint, weary smile. Her lips quivered, but her gaze carried a quiet strength, as though to reassure the desperate man beside her. The night dragged on heavily in the hospital. Hung dared not close his eyes, staying at her side, wiping her sweat, adjusting her blanket, whispering words of comfort. Outside, the pale moonlight streamed through the windows, bearing witness to a man struggling with the terror of losing everything. By morning, the doctor returned for a re-examination, his tone a little gentler. "For now, she's stable. You can take her home, but she must rest completely. Absolutely no exertion or walking around. This is a critical stage. Without care, the pregnancy won't last." Those strict words carved themselves into both their minds. Hung bowed repeatedly in thanks, then carefully lifted Hoai into his arms as though she were the most fragile treasure in the world. His eyes were resolute, yet his heart was in turmoil. From now on, everything had to change. No more forest trips, no more daily burdens. Only care, only sacrifice, to protect the woman he loved and the tiny life within her. The road home, so familiar, now felt longer, heavier. But in Hung's arms, Hoai breathed steadily, her hand gently tightening around his. And that alone was enough for him to believe, no matter what storms may come, this love, he would hold on to it with all his strength. Returning home after a long, exhausting night at the hospital, Hung carefully carried Hoai into their room, gently laying her down on the bed as though even the slightest movement might bring her more pain. She lay there, her face pale, lips dry, breathing still weak. Yet in her weary eyes flickered gratitude and reassurance, comfort in knowing that Hung was still by her side. He sat down beside her, gripping her hand tightly, his teary eyes unable to look away. In his mind swirled countless thoughts, the wedding dress hanging in the corner, unfinished plans, and the tiny life fighting for every second inside her womb. That afternoon, as word spread, neighbors began to arrive one after another. Footsteps echoed through the alley, and every gaze carried worry and sympathy. They gathered in the courtyard, some bringing fruit, others medicinal herbs, some bringing nothing but heartfelt concern. The air, once bustling with wedding preparations, now hung heavy and suffocating. Hung stepped into the yard, his face gaunt from a sleepless night. His eyes were red, his voice trembling, choked with emotion but firm with resolve. A wedding can wait, but she and the baby are what matter most. I must postpone the ceremony so Hoai can rest. Please, I hope everyone can understand. The courtyard fell silent, broken only by the creak of the wind through the bamboo. Some women wiped away tears with their sleeves, a few men stood with arms crossed, nodding in approval. Finally, an elder spoke slowly, his voice steady and thoughtful. You're right, son. A wedding is a joy, but the lives of mother and child are beyond price. Put it aside for now. Preserve the greater blessing for your family. A neighbor woman added, her eyes glistening. Poor young couple, just as happiness seemed within reach, storms came so soon. But if heaven shows mercy and they overcome this trial, their bond will only grow stronger. The comforting words and sympathetic gazes gradually softened the air. Some women rolled up their sleeves without being asked, sweeping the yard, stoking the fire, cooking a meal, or taking turns watching over little Tony. The child darted around, oblivious to the gravity of it all, only sensing that his mother was sick and his father sad, staring wide-eyed at the grown-ups with innocent confusion. As night fell, the village sank back into quiet. But inside the small house, an oil lamp flickered faintly. Hung sat on the porch, his thin body hunched over his knees. Before him stretched the village path under pale moonlight. His mind was tangled like a knot of string, the wedding postponed, duties at his unit waiting, Hoai needing constant care. Responsibilities weighed heavily on his shoulders, yet only one thought remained. As long as Hoai and our child are safe, I can bear any sacrifice, endure any hardship. The night chorus of insects sang on, as if bearing witness, engraving in time the steadfast love of a man willing to set everything aside, just to protect his little family. When the grim news spread from the neighbors, Mother Ha hurriedly abandoned her chores, her hands still smeared with soil from the garden rows. She rushed down the familiar village path, her heart burning with worry. Only one thought echoed in her mind: how is poor Hoai now? Heaven, please, let her and the baby be safe. As soon as she reached the gate, the atmosphere was nothing like the joyful days before. The house that once overflowed with laughter and wedding preparations now lay in eerie silence. The door was ajar, yet no voices came from inside. Her heart sank, a heavy premonition washed over her. Stepping into the room, the sight struck her motionless. Hoai lay still on the old wooden bed, her face pale as if drained of all blood, her lips parched, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling without focus. The image made Mother Ha's legs tremble beneath her. Without hesitation, she slowly approached, her hands shaking as she clasped the frail hand of the foster daughter she had once held and protected. The weak, icy grip made tears brim in her eyes. With a trembling, calloused hand, she wiped the sweat from Hoai's forehead, her voice quivering with sorrow. My child, you've suffered too much already, but you must endure. This baby is the family's hope. If you fall, where will I find the strength to go on? Hoai turned her gaze toward her, tears shimmering, her lips trembling as if to speak, but no sound emerged. Instead, she gave a faint nod, and a tear slid down her cheek, her silent promise to hold on, for love, for her child, and for everyone who cared for her. At the doorway, Hung stood silently, his shoulders heavy, every word piercing his chest like a knife. The weight on him was crushing, a fragile new family, duties waiting at his unit, and above all, the lives of Hoai and their unborn child. He knew his leave was over, that he had to return to duty, yet his heart refused to accept leaving her in such a perilous state. He stepped inside, eyes bloodshot, his voice hoarse after a sleepless night. Mother, I can't bring myself to leave for work. I want to ask you to stay, to watch over Hoai and little Tony. I know you're not young anymore, that you still have work at home, but..." His voice faltered. He knew well she was no longer strong. Her hands were worn by years of labor, her steps unsteady. Asking her to carry this burden was too much. But aside from her, there was no one he could turn to. Mother Ha fell silent. In her eyes, hesitation was clear, her aging hands, her weary body, her duties waiting back home. But looking at Hoai, frail, pale, her youth drained away, her heart twisted with pain. In that moment, love overcame all doubt. She squeezed her foster daughter's hand, pressed a tender kiss to her forehead like a mother lulling her child, then turned to Hung. Her eyes glistened with tears, but her voice was steady and resolute. "All right. I'll stay. Go do your duty with peace of mind. I'll be here. Even if I must lean on a cane, I'll still care for her and the little one." Hearing this, Hung could no longer hold back. His throat tightened, tears streamed as he sank to his knees, gripping his mother's hand, his voice trembling. "Thank you, Mother. Without you, I don't know what I would do." In his heart surged gratitude, sorrow, and renewed resolve. He understood that no matter what storms awaited, within this small home there still burned a light, a mother's love, a wife's sacrifice, and the faith he clung to. That light would be the strength to carry their little family through every trial of life. That morning, as the pale sunlight filtered through the bamboo at the gate, Hung put on his work uniform. The fabric was worn at the shoulders, yet today it felt heavier than ever. Before stepping out the door, he lingered, his eyes filled with longing as they gazed toward the small bedroom. Inside, Hoai lay still, her face pale and fragile, not yet recovered from the ordeal. Beside her sat Mother Ha, silently gripping her hand, as though trying to pass on warmth and faith. Little Tony rested his head on his mother's lap, his wide eyes full of innocence. Though he could not understand what was happening, he sensed something was wrong, and so remained quiet, laughing less than usual. Hung stood motionless for a long while, his throat tight, his eyes shimmering with sorrow yet burning with determination. He drew in a deep breath, then turned away. Before crossing the threshold, he looked back once more, as if to carve into his heart the image of his small family, an image that would become his strength to face whatever lay ahead. In the little house, the air was heavy with worry. Each breath seemed to echo the burdened heartbeat of three souls, Hoai, Mother Ha, and the child still nestled in her womb. Yet hidden beneath that cloud of fear was something warm that lingered, the power of love. A mother's devotion from Ha, Hung's unwavering affection, and the sacred bond of motherhood pulling Hoai back toward life. And so today's episode closes in an atmosphere of worry, of waiting laced with fragile hope. Will Hoai and her precious child survive this dangerous stage? Will Hung's love be strong enough to defy fate itself? The answers remain uncertain. Stay tuned for the next episode, to witness the trials yet also the love that binds this little family together.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đang edit video Lý Hoài ca và hiện tại thì vẫn chưa hoàn thành mọi người ạ. Mình có một phút cuối muốn chia sẻ đến mọi người một tí rằng video của mình thì hiện tại vẫn lên đều và mình hy vọng rằng sẽ nhận được sự ủng hộ của mọi người nhiều hơn, sự yêu quý của mọi người nhiều hơn, và mong rằng những video của kênh mình lên sẽ góp phần nào đó tạo ra niềm vui cuộc sống và những ý nghĩa cho mọi người. Nội dung video cũng như là nội dung kênh của mình thì xoay quanh những câu chuyện về những người phụ nữ ở Việt Nam. Ví dụ như là mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài ca đây thì Hoài ca là một người mẹ đơn thân, và ở trong tập này thì lẽ ra là đám cưới của Hùng và Hoài ca đã có thể diễn ra, tuy nhiên là có một số điều không may đã xảy ra, điều đó khiến cho đám cưới bị hoãn lại. Vậy thì điều gì sẽ diễn ra tiếp theo? Mình mời mọi người đón xem vào tập sau. Và nhớ rằng hãy theo dõi kênh để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ video nào mọi người nhé.